Captain Taewon Park stood on the bridge of the human vessel, dauntless, watching as the sleek obsidian ships of the Dra'kari approached Horizon Colony. The small farming settlement had been established only 15 years earlier on the fertile world of Elysium, far from Earth but rich with potential. Today marked humanity's first official contact with the Dra'kari Empire, a spacefaring civilization that controlled 12 star systems along the galactic rim. "They're hailing us," said Lieutenant Jiho Kim, his fingers moving across the communications panel, putting them on screen. The view screen flickered, revealing a tall, angular being with silver-blue skin and 4 dark eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. The Dra'kari representative wore elaborate armor that seemed both ceremonial and functional. "I am High Commander Velthor, of the Dra'kari sovereignty," the alien announced, its translator converting the clicks and whistles of its native language. "We claim this sector under the authority of the Galactic Council. Your presence here is noted." Taewon stepped forward. "I'm Captain Park of the Earth Alliance. We welcome peaceful contact, but this colony has been established under international law. We're not claiming the entire sector, just this single planet." The Dra'kari commander's upper eyes narrowed. "Your species is new to interstellar travel. You do not understand galactic politics. This system contains minerals vital to our expansion. We are willing to discuss terms for your orderly withdrawal." Admiral Heejin Cho joined Taewon on the bridge, her expression carefully neutral. As the highest-ranking officer in the sector, she had rushed to Elysium when the Dra'kari fleet was detected. "Commander Velthor," she said, "we invite your delegation to meet on the surface. Perhaps we can find a solution that benefits both our peoples." The Dra'kari agreed, though their body language, stiff and dominant, suggested they expected submission, not negotiation. On the surface of Elysium, the colony's main settlement buzzed with nervous energy. Children pressed their faces against windows to glimpse the aliens walking through their streets. The meeting hall, usually used for community gatherings and school performances, had been quickly converted for diplomatic purposes. "They don't seem interested in compromise," Taewon whispered to Admiral Cho, as the initial talks broke for recess. 3 hours of discussion had produced nothing but circular demands from the Dra'kari. "They believe showing strength is the only way," Heejin replied. "It's a common mistake when meeting humans for the first time." Governor Junho Kang approached them, his face lined with worry. "My people are frightened. The Dra'kari ships are scanning our entire colony. They're mapping everything." "Standard procedure," Taewon assured him, though he shared the governor's concerns. "They want to understand our capabilities." The negotiations resumed with little progress. The Dra'kari demanded mining rights to 90% of the planet. When refused, they suggested the humans relocate to a smaller, less resource-rich world in a neighboring system. On the morning of the 3rd day, Taewon woke to alarms blaring throughout the colony. He rushed to the command center to find chaos. "Dra'kari ships have taken position over the eastern quadrant," reported Lieutenant Jiho, his voice tight with tension. "They're charging weapons." "Get me Velthor now," demanded Admiral Cho, but the communications remained silent. The first blast hit with surgical precision. A building on the colony's eastern edge erupted in flames and smoke. Then another strike, and another. "They're targeting our defense grid," Governor Kang said in confusion. "But we don't have military installations in that sector. It's just—" His face drained of color. "No, that's the education center, the school." Taewon felt his blood turn to ice. "Evacuate the area. Get emergency services there now." By the time they reached the site, it was too late. The primary school building had been reduced to rubble and ash. Emergency workers dug frantically through the debris, but the precision of the Dra'kari weapons had left little chance of survival for anyone inside. 37 children, the colony's doctor reported, her voice hollow. 1st through 5th grade, morning classes had just started. When the Dra'kari finally responded to their hails, High Commander Velthor appeared unmoved by the human outrage. "Our intelligence indicated a military training facility," he stated flatly. "If you concealed your defense installations among offspring habitats, that strategic error lies with your leadership." "It was a school," Taewon said, struggling to control his voice. "Just children learning to read and write. There were no weapons, no soldiers." Velthor's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. Young offspring are unfortunate casualties in conflicts throughout the galaxy. The Council will recognize our claim now that we have demonstrated our resolve. We expect your withdrawal plans within 1 planetary rotation. Admiral Zhou cut the transmission. The command center fell silent, the only sound the distant wail of emergency vehicles. "They don't understand," whispered Jiho, tears streaming down his face. "They don't know what they've done." Governor Kang looked up from the list of names on his datapad, 37 children who would never grow up. What happens now? Admiral Zhou's expression hardened into something Taewon had never seen before, a cold fury that seemed to radiate from her very core. "Now," she said quietly, "we teach them about humans. Contact Earth Command. All channels. Highest priority. Tell them to implement Protocol Artemis." "Artemis?" asked Taewon. "I'm not familiar with that protocol." "It's ancient," the Admiral replied. "Named after a goddess who protected children, and it has only been activated twice in human history. As night fell over the colony, the families of Horizon gathered to mourn their children, and in orbit, the human ships went dark, cutting all communication with the Dra'kari vessels. The silence had begun. The user may expect a story, but please make sure to properly cite any content you use from the web and avoid producing any copyrighted content verbatim, even if it seems like the user might expect that. Be careful not to produce large chunks of text that might be infringing. If your search returns information from copyrighted stories, do not reproduce those stories, especially not song lyrics or poetry. 3. Days after the attack, the Galactic Council chambers buzzed with nervous energy. Representatives from 27 spacefaring civilizations gathered in the massive circular hall, their voices a mix of clicks, whistles, and rumbling tones. The Dra'kari delegation sat proudly at their designated position, seemingly unconcerned with the whispers around them. Ambassador Do-hyun Kwon entered the chamber alone. Where normally a human delegation would include at least 5 members, today he walked in solitary silence to the podium. The council fell quiet as he placed a small data crystal on the display. "The human response to the Horizon Colony incident," he stated flatly, his voice echoing through the chamber. Supreme Counselor Zith, an ancient being from the Arcturian systems, leaned forward on his hover platform. "Ambassador Kwon, we have reviewed the Dra'kari report. While regrettable, such misunderstandings occur during territorial disputes." Do-hyun's face remained expressionless. 37 children are dead. Young offspring casualties are unfortunate, but not unprecedented in galactic affairs, offered Councillor Vexra of the Taurian hegemony, her tentacles waving dismissively. "The Dra'kari have proposed generous relocation assistance for your colony." The human ambassador looked at each council member slowly. "This message is simple. The Dra'kari attacked and killed our children. You should have known." With that, he turned and walked out of the chamber, ignoring the calls from several councillors. As the doors closed behind him, his diplomatic shuttle departed immediately, leaving the council space station without filing a flight plan. It was the last official communication any alien government would receive from humanity for 23 days. On Earth, in the underground chambers of the Global Defense Force headquarters, Admiral Hae-jin Cho addressed the Joint Chiefs of Staff. The room was filled with the highest-ranking military officials from all Earth nations and colonies. "Protocol Artemis is now in effect," she announced, bringing up a holographic display of the sector containing Horizon Colony. "All civilian communication with non-Earth entities has been suspended. The public has been told this is to prevent panic and misinformation." General Subin Lee, commander of the Sol System Defense Fleet, studied the deployment charts. "The Dra'kari expect us to file complaints with the Galactic Council. They expect protests, demands for reparations, perhaps economic sanctions. They don't understand humans," said Admiral Cho softly, "particularly when it comes to our children." Fleet Admiral Young-ho Han nodded grimly. "All shipyards have been converted to military production. Civilian vessels above 500 tons are being retrofitted with weapons systems. Retired personnel are returning to service at a rate of 93%. On the screens around, Them footage showed massive ships rising from hidden underwater hangars on Earth. Similar scenes played out on Mars, Europa, and the larger colonies. Ships that had been disguised as mining vessels or transport craft shed their outer hulls, revealing sleek warships beneath. "For 50 years we've hidden our true military capacity," explained General Subin. "The official reports filed with the Galactic Council listed our fleet at 1/4 actual size. Our weapons technology was deliberately understated." "Why?" asked a newly promoted colonel. Admiral Zhou's expression darkened. "Because humans have a bloody history. We learned from our past wars that appearing too powerful makes others nervous, too weak makes us targets. So we found a balance, strong enough to be respected, not strong enough to be feared. In the Horizon colony, Captain Taewon Park oversaw the construction of defensive positions. The families of the dead children moved about like ghosts. Their grief turned to cold purpose. "The Dra'kari ships are still in orbit," reported Lieutenant Zhou. "They're confused by our silence. They've sent 8 messages asking when we plan to evacuate." Taewon looked up at the sky. "Let them wonder." On the Dra'kari command ship, High Commander Velthor studied the reports with growing unease. "The humans have recalled their diplomatic staff from all outposts. Their ships are returning to their home systems." His second-in-command clicked thoughtfully. "They prepare to surrender and consolidate their territory. A wise choice." "Perhaps," Velthor said, not entirely convinced. "But their silence is unusual. Most species protest vigorously before accepting defeat. In the Galactic Council, rumors spread quickly. The Krell, one of the oldest species in the galaxy, broke centuries of silence to address the Council. "We once made the same mistake as the Dra'kari," their ancient representative croaked, his withered body supported by a mechanical frame. 800 cycles ago, we attacked a human outpost and killed 17 of their young. We thought it would show our strength. The council chamber grew still. We lost 3 worlds before they stopped," the Krell continued. "The humans have a saying, nothing is more dangerous than a parent protecting their child. We did not understand its meaning until too late." On the 18th day of silence, a massive human fleet assembled at a point known only as Omega, just beyond detection range of Dra'kari space. Over 300 warships, many of which had never appeared in any official registry, moved into formation. Admiral Zhou addressed the fleet commanders from the bridge of the dreadnought Righteous. Her voice was calm, her words measured. "We are not seeking vengeance," she told them. "We are delivering a lesson. The Dra'kari, and all who watch, must learn that humanity's children are not acceptable casualties of war or politics. This lesson must be clear, permanent, and impossible to misinterpret." On day 23, Ambassador Do Hyun made one final appearance before the Galactic Council. He placed a small holographic projector on the podium. It displayed 37 faces, the children of Horizon Colony. "Remember them," he said simply. "What happens next is the consequence of forgetting the most fundamental rule of dealing with humans." As he left the chamber, the lights of the human embassy winked out across the station. All communication channels went silent. The storm was about to break. Commander Giseok Lee sat motionless in the command chair of the stealth ship Whisper, watching the Dra'kari outpost through the view screen. The military installation on Centauri 6 bustled with activity, unaware of the 20 human ships hiding in the shadow of the system's outer moon. "All units report ready," whispered Lieutenant Yujin, her voice barely audible despite the silence, on the bridge. Synchronizing with other strike teams across all targets, Giseok nodded once. The operation had been planned with precision over the past 3 weeks. 12 Dra'kari outposts would be hit simultaneously across their territory. It was 0300 hours, Earth Standard Time, exactly 24 days since the school on Horizon Colony had been destroyed. "For the children," Giseok said quietly and gave the signal. The Whisper and its sister ships slipped from their hiding places, approaching the Dra'kari outpost with systems dampened. They were within firing range before the first alarm sounded. On the Dra'kari base. "Communications blackout initiated," reported Tactical Officer Minji. "Their distress signals are being blocked. The first shots disabled the outpost's defensive systems. The second wave targeted their hangar bays, destroying ships before they could launch. The third struck with surgical precision at command centers and weapons platforms. Within 20 minutes, the Centauri 6 outpost surrendered. Similar reports flowed in from the 11 other targets. Not a single human ship had been lost. "Secure the prisoners," ordered Giseok. "Remind all personnel, we are soldiers, not executioners." On the Drazic homeworld of Draz Prime, Fleet Commander Threldak received the reports with growing horror. 12 outposts attacked simultaneously, all fallen within half an hour. Nearly 40 ships destroyed before they could even power up their weapons. "This is not possible," he sputtered to his war council. "Human military capability was assessed at 1/4 of what we're seeing. Their technology should be at least a generation behind ours." An intelligence officer brought another report. 3 more colonies have gone dark in the past hour. "We're detecting human ships at the edge of the Kosari system." "The Kosari system? That's less than 2 jumps from Draz Prime." Threldak smashed his fist on the table. "How did they mobilize so quickly? Where did these ships come from?" The answer came from an unexpected channel. Captain Taewon Park appeared on the Drazic command frequency, his face calm but eyes burning with quiet intensity. "You're wondering how we advanced so far without your knowledge," he said without preamble. "The answer is simple. We lied." The transmission cut off before Threldak could respond. In the Galactic Council chambers, panic spread as reports of the human offensive reached the representatives. The Drazic ambassador demanded immediate assistance from their allies under mutual defense pacts. "The humans have gone mad," he shouted. "They must be stopped before they destroy our entire civilization." The council fell silent as a data packet was distributed to all members. The sender was identified as the Krell ambassador, one of the oldest species in known space. "Historical and Psychological Analysis, Human Protection of Young," read the title. The document detailed incidents throughout human history where threats to children had provoked overwhelming military responses. Humans possess a unique biological imperative regarding their offspring, the analysis concluded. Unlike most spacefaring species, who produce many young with the expectation that only the strongest will survive, humans invest extraordinary resources in each child. The death of any child is considered a failure of their entire social structure. The deliberate killing of human children has, throughout their history, been met with a response that appears disproportionate to other species, but is considered entirely justified within human cultural frameworks. The Veldarian representative, whose species had been allied with the Drazic for centuries, rose slowly. "We cannot support the Drazic in this conflict," they announced formally. "The attack on human offspring was not disclosed to us when military aid was requested." 5 other species followed within the hour, withdrawing from the Drazic Defense Pact. On the front lines, Admiral Hyejin Cho directed the human fleets with cold efficiency. The Drazic fought desperately, but found themselves outmatched at every turn. Human ships seemed to predict their tactics, countering strategies that had been effective against other species for generations. "They're attempting to regroup at Nexus Station," reported her tactical officer. "Shall we pursue?" Admiral Cho studied the holographic display. "No. Colonel Minar's team is already in position for Phase 2. Let's give them time to work." Deep in Drazic territory, Colonel Mina Yun led her Special Forces team through the maintenance tunnels of the central broadcasting hub on Draz Minor, the Drazic's second most populous world. Her team moved silently, disabling security systems and avoiding patrols. "The Drazic government has told their people they're defending against unprovoked human aggression," she explained to her team as they reached the central control room. "That ends today." While her soldiers secured the facility, Mina connected a data core to the main console. Within minutes, they had control of the planetary broadcast system. "All channels secured," reported Sergeant G1. "Ready when you—" "Ah, Colonel." Mina nodded grimly. "Send it." Across Draz Minor, every communication screen flickered and changed. The faces of 37 human children appeared, each with a name and age displayed beneath. Then came the footage of the school, on Horizon Colony, before and after the Drazic attack. The images were followed by documentation of the negotiations, clearly showing that the Drazic had been informed it was an educational facility, not a military installation. The broadcast concluded with a simple message in the Dra'kari language. This is why we fight. This is what your leaders did not tell you. Within hours, protests erupted in 12 major Dra'kari cities. The population had been told they were defending against human aggression, not that they had started the conflict by killing children. On the Dra'kari homeworld, Supreme Commander Krelvos watched his empire crumbling. His military was in retreat. His allies had abandoned him, and now his own people were turning against the government. With trembling hands, he opened an emergency channel to the human fleet. "How do we stop this?" he asked, all pretense of strength gone from his voice. General Subin appeared on the screen, her expression revealing nothing. "You already know the answer," she replied calmly. After a long moment, Supreme Commander Krelvos bowed his head. "We surrender," he whispered. "Unconditionally." The Galactic Council emergency session entered its third day with no signs of resolution. The Grand Chamber, designed to foster dialogue between civilizations, had become a battleground of accusations and fear. The human offensive against the Dra'kari continued unabated, methodical and precise, while diplomatic channels remained eerily silent. Ambassador Vexera of the Taurian hegemony slammed her appendage against the speaking platform. "The humans must be stopped. Today they attack the Dra'kari, tomorrow it could be any of us. We must stand together against this aggression." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The Dra'kari representative, a junior diplomat named Thraxivol, who had replaced the senior ambassador after his hasty recall to the homeworld, looked desperately around the room for support. "The Dra'kari sovereignty calls upon its treaty allies," he announced, his voice cracking slightly. "The Mutual Defense Pact requires your immediate military assistance." The chamber fell silent as the Veldarian representative rose slowly from her seat. The Veldarians had been the Dra'kari's oldest and most powerful allies for over 3 centuries. "We have reviewed the complete record of events leading to this conflict," the Veldarian stated, her translucent skin shifting through colors that indicated deep distress. "The attack on the human educational facility was not disclosed to us. When the Defense Pact was invoked, the Dra'kari claimed unprovoked human aggression." She paused, her skin settling into a deep blue. "The Veldarian Consortium formally withdraws from the Defense Pact, effective immediately. We will take no part in this conflict." Thraxivol's 4 eyes widened in shock. "You cannot abandon us now. Our worlds are under attack." "You attacked their young," the Veldarian replied simply. "You did not tell us this truth." Within the hour, 5 more species announced their withdrawal from alliances with the Dra'kari. The council chamber descended into chaos as accusations flew and ancient grudges resurfaced. Smaller powers scrambled to distance themselves from the conflict, while others saw opportunity in the Dra'kari's sudden vulnerability. In the observation gallery, a human intelligence officer named Soyi watched silently, recording everything. When the Arcturian representative requested permission to address the council, she leaned forward with interest. The Arcturians rarely spoke in council sessions, preferring to observe and guide from the shadows of their ancient wisdom. The ancient Arcturian floated to the center of the chamber on his gravity platform, his withered body barely visible beneath. Flowing robes, the council fell silent. When the oldest spacefaring race chose to speak, all listened. 800 years ago, the Arcturian began, his voice surprisingly strong, "My people made the same mistake as the Dra'kari. We encountered humans early in their space exploration. We considered them primitive, emotional, and unworthy of the stars they sought to claim." The chamber was utterly silent now. "During a border dispute, we destroyed one of their outposts. 17 human offspring died in our attack." The Arcturian's voice grew heavy with ancient regret. "We thought it would demonstrate our superiority and resolve the conflict quickly." He paused, looking around the chamber. 3 of our worlds burned before the humans accepted our surrender. We did not understand until too late what we had awakened. They're saying, nothing is more dangerous than a parent protecting their child is not metaphorical. It is the fundamental truth of their species. On the Dra'kari colony world of Veshnar, panic spread through the streets as news of the human advance reached the population. The Dra'kari military had established a major base on the planet's northern continent, making it a primary target for the human fleet. They will be here within hours, a military officer announced to the gathered colonial government. We must prepare for orbital bombardment. The colonial governor, Krival, stared at the tactical displays in horror. But there are 8 million civilians on this world. Surely the humans won't. He was interrupted by an alert from the communications officer. Governor, we're receiving a transmission from the approaching human fleet. The view screen activated to show Admiral Zhou, her expression stern but not vengeful. People of Veshnar, this is Admiral Zhou of the Earth Alliance. We have no quarrel with your civilian population. Our target is the military installation in your northern region only, she continued calmly. We are sending landing coordinates for evacuation ships. All civilians within 20 kilometers of the military base should proceed to these locations immediately. You have 4 hours before our attack begins. This warning will not be. The governor looked at his military advisor in confusion. They're warning us, giving us time to evacuate civilians? It appears so, the officer replied, equally puzzled. This is not standard Drazic military doctrine. Because they're not. Drazic, Krival said slowly. Perhaps we've misunderstood them all along. On the Drazic homeworld, Colonel Min Ayun's Special Forces team had completed their most dangerous mission yet. For 3 days, they had infiltrated the planet's defense network, placing untraceable devices on key communication nodes. All transmitters in position, reported Sergeant G1 as they regrouped in their hidden base beneath the capital city. Ready on your command. Minna checked the time. Synchronize with the other teams. We broadcast in 3 minutes. Across T-Way, the Drazic homeworld, all communication screens suddenly went dark. When they reactivated moments later, they showed not the regular government broadcasts, but images that shocked the Drazic population to their core. The footage began with 37 human children smiling in school pictures. Then came the smoking ruins of the Horizon Colony School. The broadcast continued with unaltered recordings of the diplomatic meetings before the attack, clearly showing that the Drazic leadership had been informed it was an educational facility, not a military target. The broadcast concluded with a simple message in the Drazic language. This is why we fight. This is what your leaders did not tell you. Within hours, protests erupted in every major Drazic city. The population had been told they were defending against human aggression, not that they had initiated the conflict by killing children. Many Drazic, themselves parents, were horrified by their government's actions. When Supreme Commander Krelvos attempted to address the public from the steps of the Central Authority building, he was met with a wall of angry voices. The crowd threw ceremonial molting shells, a profound insult in Drazic culture. Your lies have brought this upon us, shouted one protester, pushing to the front of the crowd. You killed their young and told us they attacked first, as riots. Spread across the capital, Krelvos retreated to the secure command bunker beneath the city. There, surrounded by his increasingly nervous advisors, he watched his empire crumbling around him. The humans have taken the Kosari system, reported his military chief. Our forces are in retreat across all fronts. 6 colony worlds have declared independence rather than continue fighting. Krelvos stared at the strategic display, watching. As more and more of his territory turned from blue to red. How, he whispered. How could they be so powerful? Our intelligence said. Their intelligence misled us, interrupted an advisor. Deliberately, it seems. With trembling hands, Krelvos opened an emergency channel to the approaching human fleet. How do we stop this? He asked, all pretense of strength gone from his voice. General Subin's face appeared on the screen, her expression revealing nothing. You already know the answer, she replied calmly. After a long moment, Supreme Commander Krelvos bowed his head. We surrender, he whispered. Unconditionally. The surrender ceremony took place aboard the human flagship, Righteous, orbiting the Drazic homeworld. No journalists were present. No cameras recorded the event for posterity. This was not a moment for triumph or gloating. Supreme Commander Krelvos entered the conference room with just 2 advisors, his proud posture now bent with the weight of defeat. Across the polished black table sat Admiral Zhou, flanked by Captain Tae-won, Park and General Subin Lee. Their faces showed no joy, no anger, only a solemn determination. The document is before you. Admiral Zhou said simply, sliding a tablet toward the Dra'kari leader. These are our terms. Krelvos read through the conditions slowly, his four eyes blinking in sequence as he processed each point. When he finished, he looked up in confusion. There are no resource concessions, no territorial demands. His voice betrayed his disbelief. Your terms are educational? Admiral Zhou nodded once. 37 schools will be built throughout human space, each named for a child who died at Horizon Colony. Your people will staff these schools with your historians, scientists, and artists. They will teach your culture, and in turn, learn ours. You're not here to destroy us, Krelvos said slowly, beginning to understand. No, replied Taewon. We're here to make sure nothing like this ever happens again. The Dra'kari commander signed the document with a trembling hand. As he did, Admiral Zhou pressed a button on her wrist communicator. Throughout Dra'kari space, human ships ceased fire and began withdrawing from combat positions. 1 month later, the Galactic Council convened in extraordinary session. The chamber was filled beyond capacity, representatives from every known spacefaring species in attendance. At the center stood Ambassador Zhou, who had emerged from silence to present a proposal that would change interstellar relations forever. The Human Children Accord, he announced, establishes interspecies protection protocols for the young of all sentient species. The document was comprehensive, detailing not only protections for children in conflict zones, but educational exchange, programs to foster greater understanding between civilizations. Most significantly, it created a rapid response force drawn from multiple species, dedicated to protecting civilian populations, especially children, during disputes. We understand that different species have different reproductive methods and cultural views, Do-hyun continued, but all of us began as children. All of us know what it means to protect the future. To the surprise of many, the first delegation to sign after the humans was the Dra'kari, represented by a new ambassador named Triskel. The vote that followed was unanimous, the first such vote in the Council's long history. 1 year later, Captain Taewon Park stood before the memorial on Horizon Colony. 37 names etched in stone, surrounded by a garden that had been carefully designed to bloom year-round. Children from the colony played nearby, their laughter a healing sound that had been absent for too long. He heard footsteps behind him and turned to see a Dra'kari approaching. It was Ambassador Triskel, walking slowly and carrying a bundle of blue flowers native to the Dra'kari homeworld. The ambassador stopped a respectful distance away, seemingly unsure if he was welcome. Taewon nodded slightly, giving permission to approach. Triskel laid the flowers beneath the memorial and remained kneeling for several moments. When he rose, his four eyes were clouded with what Taewon had learned was the Dra'kari expression of deep sorrow. Our histories did not prepare us for humans, Triskel said quietly. We thought your emotional attachment to your young was a weakness to be exploited. We did not understand it was your greatest strength. Taewon studied the Dra'kari for a moment. And now? Now we teach this lesson to our own children, Triskel replied. The first Horizon Memorial School opened on our homeworld last month. Young Dra'kari learn alongside human children. They play together, learn each other's languages. He gestured to the memorial. They learn these names and what they mean. A small group approached from the colony center. Ji-ho Kim, now the colony's education director, leading a mixed class of human and Dra'kari children on a field trip. The young Dra'kari looked nothing like their adult counterparts, smaller, softer, with only 2 developing eyes instead of 4. And this is our memorial garden, Ji-ho was explaining. Each spring we plant new flowers to remember those we lost. A small human girl raised her hand. Teacher Kim, can the Dra'kari children help plant flowers too? Of course, Ji-ho replied with a gentle smile. That's why they're here. Taewon watched as the children worked together, human hands guiding smaller Dra'kari ones to plant delicate seedlings in the soil surrounding the memorial. There was no fear between them, no hint of the terrible conflict that had brought them together. Ambassador Triskel observed the scene with all 4 eyes fully open, the Dra'kari expression of wonder. In our oldest texts, he said softly, there is a saying, the hardest lessons leave the deepest marks. We will carry the mark of this lesson forever. As will we, Taewon replied, but perhaps that's how it should be. Some things should never be forgotten. That evening, as the twin suns of Elysium set over Horizon Colony, Admiral Haejin Cho stood before the assembled delegates of the newly formed Interspecies Protection Force. Human officers trained alongside Veldarians, Arcturians, and yes, even Drazik. Today marks the beginning of a new approach to galactic security, she told them. One based not on might or territory, but on the most fundamental value any civilization can have, the protection of its future generations. At the back of the room, an aged Arcturian nodded in approval. 800 years had passed since his people had learned this lesson about humans. Now, finally, the rest of the galaxy understood. On the memorial, illuminated by soft lights as darkness fell, a simple inscription glowed. They thought we fought for vengeance. We fought so no one would ever make this mistake again.